Hey everyone, welcome back to my channel, or welcome if you're new. My name is Olivia and this is my channel where I love to talk about all things nail polish. Happy Black History Month. I have been so excited to film and plan and film this video, and because it's taken me a while to really think, how exactly did I want to go about celebrating Black History Month on this channel? And I wanted to do so in a way where, whether you are Black or whether you're not Black, but you want to celebrate, you might want to use nail art as a way to help celebrate Black history. These are designs that can, that anyone I think would feel comfortable with wearing, but also it's nail art that tells a story and can teach you and others something new. So where this started for me was that I took some time and thought about what Black History Month has often meant for me personally, going all the way back to when I was a kid in school, and it would feel like we would learn about the same people year after year. And I just really, at the time when I was younger, didn't often feel the need to go beyond that. But now I thought, okay, I'm someone who works in a technical field, and because of that, I thought, well, why not take some time to do some research and learn about some people, some Black pioneers in the field of STEM, so science, technology, engineering, and math. And then from there, I'm learning something about each of these people, but then also figuring out some type of nail art that would relate to their work. And so yeah, that's what I did. And it was a really good time to learn about these people. I also wanted to do it in a way where I had a combination of people who are still living today, as well as some people from the past, because I often find that Black History Month tends to focus more on the past, and because it's Black history, yes, history, but there's still people living today who are doing great things that I feel should be celebrated and recognized as well. So with that being said, here's how this video is going to be structured. I've chosen 5 different people that I want to spotlight in this video, and for each of them, I'm going to start their section by giving you a brief bio of who they are and why it is that I've chosen them. And then we'll get into the nail art portion for them, and I'll explain what kind of illustration I've chosen and how that relates to them. And just as always for my nail art videos, I'll go about trying to draw them. And that's how this is going to go. So interestingly, I originally filmed the intro for this video before doing the nail art, because that's how I always do it, right? But this was one of the few times where I felt like I was making so many edits to that intro that I'm just like, nah, it doesn't feel right. I want to explain this in a little bit of a better way. So I decided to refilm the video. That's probably, if any of you are very detail oriented, you might notice that my nail color that I have on now is different than what I've got in the video, the main part of the video. But another reason why I thought it would be helpful for me to refilm this intro was that something I wasn't planning on was that as I was going about doing the nail art, it ended up being more of a chatty video than I was expecting, in a good way, where I'm talking through not just what I'm painting on my nails and how, but then realize that so many of these illustrations and the person that it's connected to, I realized there is a connection, or there were connections to parts of my own story and my own history. And so I will say, if you've ever been curious to learn more about me and who I am, watch this video, because there's stuff that I share about myself as well. This was a really fun one to do. I guess the last thing I'll say before I get into the main part of this video is that I encourage all of you to continue learning about Black history in ways that work for you. So for example, if you're someone who's really into sports, do some research about Black athletes throughout history that you might not have heard of. If you're someone who's into music, do some research on Black musicians and so on. And also, I know maybe it's just me, or maybe it's just how my YouTube algorithm has been showing content to me, but I just know from what I've personally seen on YouTube so far this month, I don't think I've really seen any other nail polish content creators doing Black History Month videos. So for any of you who are watching this who are my fellow nail polish YouTubers, I encourage all of you to find ways that are meaningful for you to find a combination between like Black History Month and nail art, because I think that I truly love my culture. I feel that it's something that absolutely should be celebrated. And yeah, so first, thank you all for watching this video. Let's go ahead and get into the nail art. The first person that I've chosen to spotlight in this video is Courtney Fitzhugh. She is a clinical researcher and the head of the Laboratory of Early Sickle Cell Mortality Prevention at the National Heart, Lung, and Blood Institute. According to the National Heart, Lung, and Blood Institute, approximately 1 in every 365 Black babies are born with sickle cell disease, meaning they inherited a sickle cell gene from each parent. So it sounds like she's doing some absolutely great and much needed work. And to represent Courtney's work with sickle cell, I thought it might be an interesting idea to do like a repeating pattern of sickled red blood cells across this dark background. So the color that I chose as my background here is, this is from Haunted Polish. It's called Coven. This color speaks to my soul so much. It is like, this is just me in a nutshell, basically. I just love this color. And so one of the things that I love about it is that it is like, at this angle, as I'm looking through like through my phone as I'm recording this, it looks black, right? But then still looks black. Okay, but like as you zoom in, it does look, you can see that it's red. And so like I want this to kind of look like red blood cells that are like floating through, you know, blood, plasma. I should know terms. Look, I was only pre-med for like a year and like a couple months, so I'm clearly not a doctor. That's why I'm just kind of like, it's some kind of blood stuff. Okay, but in all seriousness, I do want this to be something that actually like looks like that could be that background. Like I didn't want to do this on just like a regular white background. I also pulled out 2 other reds from my collection that I'm going to use to make these blood cells, and the darker of the 2 is Cracked Red. This one, I love this as well. This actually kind of matches my hair color, that's why I like it. And this other one from Cracked is a little bit lighter, Calabrian Pepper. Now, the way that I'm going to approach this is to have the main body of the blood cells be Calabrian Pepper, and then like what you can see in the illustration that I'm referring to for this, I'm using the darker red here to give more of that shading look that's there. In these nail art videos, I also want to make sure to give some pointers for those of you who might be newer to nail art. And one of the main tips that I want to point out is that my personal preference is to start by painting whatever my background color is going to be, get it to whatever level of opacity that I want, and then put a coat of top coat on it and let that completely dry. And only after it has completely dried will I then go in with my nail brush and like start painting on. It can cause this to take a little bit longer, but I do think it allows you to have a much smoother surface to work from. So I'm using my little paper here. Gonna put out a little bit of red here. Let's see what we do. Yeah, and as I'm putting this out, I will also say, I think I've mentioned on this channel before that I personally don't have experience with sickle cell necessarily, but I do have a history of blood clots. Fun, not so fun story was that a little over 10 years ago, I went through a blood clot journey, and over the course of that year, I had 2 DVTs, a deep vein thrombosis, and a pulmonary embolism. But that was all initially misdiagnosed. So get a second opinion if you feel that you need to. It absolutely was what saved my life. Unfortunately, I'm indefinitely on blood thinners for the rest of my life, but I do always like to bring awareness to blood and bleeding disorders, because it can happen to anyone. I think it was only like that was 2014. Yeah, I think I was only like 30 years old at the time, 29 or 30, so pretty young. All right, I think I'm gonna start with this brush that gives me a little bit of a bigger area to work from. And I'm not gonna be too rigid with the shapes here, but I just wanna see how this looks. Like if I go in, like, the first part is always the scariest here. Ooh, that is darker on there than I thought it would be. Okay, so what I might need to end up doing, if this ends up not standing out the way that I want it to, maybe I need to bring in a lighter red, actually. So this is picking up a little bit more, but still not as much as I thought it would, which is surprising because Calabrian pepper is one of my brightest reds that I have. Let me see, I'm looking over at my at some of my red nail polishes that I've got on a rack. You know what, I'm gonna continue with this, and I think that instead of using red for this, because now that I see how much like Calabrian pepper is like blending into the background here, I don't want red to be mixed in as well and just kind of fade into the background. But overall I do think that this shape is looking good. I'm gonna pause and get a different red and see if that might make a difference. Okay, so I've got another idea. Okay, and I think I can make this work. This is Atomic Polish Red Rum, or if you're like me and you're a fan of The Shining, that would be Red Rum. This one I consider to have more of like an orangish red slant to it, but I think that's actually going to help me get more of that color contrast that I need compared to what Calabrian pepper is doing. So just gonna pour out a little bit of this here. Okay, let's try this again. I'm gonna probably just keep that first sickle cell the way that it is for now, and see how it goes if I put the red rum version down there. So as far as like positioning the different cells on here, think of this as like a repeating pattern. And so imagine like you're watching an episode of The Magic School Bus and the kids are like flying through a blood vessel, and it's not like everything is going in the same order or anything. Nothing's like uniform. You're just like really going with the going with the flow. And yeah, and just having fun with figuring out the shapes of this. Okay, there's actually some hope with this. I like red rum a little more. I also still do like the Calabrian pepper one, even though it's not as visible. So I'm wondering if I'm trying to think of what I want to do instead to give a little bit more of an accent to it. Okay, I've got an idea for that I'll bring in. So I think I'm probably actually going to do another, let's do another red rum over here. I think 3 will be enough for this nail. Yeah, one of my other hobbies that I do is cross stitch, and back when I was after I was initially diagnosed with my blood clots and was working with my hematologist for a couple years to really figure out the best course of treatment for me. I really wanted to thank him for everything that he'd done. So I designed this cross stitch pattern for him that I'll probably insert a photo of it in here so you all can see what I'm talking about. It said like go with the flow, because okay, I have a really dark sense of humor. You go through something like multiple blood clots, including a pulmonary embolism that was initially misdiagnosed, and you come so close to just really bad time. And for me, that dark sense of humor was my way of coping with it. And so, giving this frame cross stitch to my hematologist, and also the logo that's in there is the circle is the logo of the American Society of Hematology, and he immediately recognized it and he just loved it. And I was like, oh yeah, it's good with the flow, because I came to see you because my blood was not flowing. Ha ha. He's like, oh my goodness. But he was so choked up, and he said he was going to go frame it, or I gave it to him in a frame. He was going to go put it in his office. I think I am going to go over this other one with red rum, because this just stands out a little bit more. So as I'm painting over this, I'll also say, so I was already feeling a little bit nervous about giving a gift to my doctor, doing a checkup, but I thought, okay, Olivia, you can do this. It's fine. It's totally fine. But then I didn't realize that he was going to have some of his medical school residents there with him. So it was like suddenly I had an audience, but I think it worked out really well, because those students were able to see just how loved that doctor was. Unfortunately, he's not my hematologist any longer, because he was in the city and I moved away to the suburbs, but he really helped to save my life, and I will always be grateful to him for that. Okay, much in the way that I know Courtney is doing some great work at the NHLB, National Heart Lung Blood Institute. NHLBI, there we go, lots of letters. So as far as these being sickle cells, I think this is off to a really good start. What I want to do now is give some kind of like color contrast in here, like that's what's similar to what we have in the reference illustration. And I have this one from Zoya called Frankie, which is like a pink corally cream polish. And I think that this could be a good one to use for this, because for one thing, it's bright enough to show up against the dark background that we've got. Another reason is that I feel that it's going to give us enough color contrast against red rum in order to show that we're giving some, a little bit more dimension. For this, I think I'm going to use a different brush like this, and just kind of looking at the illustration, it appears that we want some shading on the inside. Now, if y'all have watched my nail art videos before, you will know that one of my challenges is that I often don't know when to stop. So let's just start small, see how this goes. And we're not trying to reinvent the wheel here. We're just trying to give a little bit of dimension. Okay, it's not giving as much color contrast as I was hoping for, but it's basically just enough to where you know, you've got just some sense of multiple colors that are in here to make these sickle cells look a little bit less flat. Oh, that one actually looks pretty good with that. Okay. All right, let's try one last one here. Yeah, so if you choose to do this design or anything like that, and people are like, what is that on your nails? Tell them about Courtney and say how, you know, share what you've learned about sickle cell anemia and why it's so important that researchers like her are continuing to do this work and make it so that people with sickle cell disease are able to get the support and care that they need. Okay, I'm gonna stop there. So I think we're off to a good start here. Did I accomplish my goal of making this look like sickled blood cells? I think so. Yeah, I would say I'm glad I chose Coven as the background, especially because you can't really see it in this lighting, but probably when I show all these swatches at the end and other lighting, you should hopefully see the more of the sparkle there. But also realizing that I needed to change up my top color to give some more contrast. So, you know, don't be afraid to mix things up with your nail art as you go along. It's totally okay to change course. So what I'm gonna do is let this sit for a little bit, add some top coat onto it, and then we'll go on to the next one. The next person I'd like to spotlight is Brian Fox. He is the original author of Bash, which is an interactive command interpreter and scripting language developed for Unix-like operating systems. He's also the developer of the first online banking website in the US. And to celebrate Brian, I pulled up the logo for Bash. And this one is, okay, we gotta do some geometry, y'all. And this is where I think that one of the main challenges that I know I personally experience with nail art is thinking that I have more space to work with than I actually do, and sometimes forgetting to try to plan out the overall vision before I just go in and start drawing lines. So to start with, because this logo has a lot of white in it, I wanted to give some kind of pop of color. And I know for Black History Month, some of the most common colors to use are things like red, yellow, orange, green, white, black. You can't go wrong with those. So I decided to go with yellow. And this one is a cream polish from Cracked called Instant Mood Booster. I'll say this is, I've tried a lot of different yellow creams, and yellow creams can just have the worst formulas to work with. But this one, just in 2 coats, I absolutely love it. And just like with before, what I've done is put on some top coat so that we've got a good smooth surface to work from. Now we're gonna need some white for our like the cube here, and this is my handy Cracked Crinkled Linens. Love her. Like I seriously love this one. It is just like it's technically off white, but that's why it works for me at least. Okay, so my plan here is to you know, if you take a close look at the Bash logo, you can see it technically has rounded edges. Y'all, I'm not going to try to do rounded edges. I'm just going to try to get a cube on here, and if I can get a cube, we're going to call that success. If I tried to round anything, that just would be a challenge. So I think I'm going to start with, okay. So even though it has like a black outline, I think I'm gonna go with like a white outline first. That's the vision. Okay, so it's a cube. I can do a cube. I think I'm gonna start with one point at the top like that, kind of setting my parameters here, or figuring out how much space I have. And then I've got another dot over here for another corner or edge, as it were, or no, corner. Oh my goodness, y'all, I am just
First I couldn't tell you what plasma was, and now I can't tell you the difference between a corner and an edge. Oof. And I was just about to say how I work in tech, and that's part of why I chose Brian. Okay, but we'll get to that. Okay, let's put the dot there. Come on, dot. Sometimes I get so nervous about nail art that I try to tread so lightly, and then I'm just like, girl, you're not even putting paint down or polish down. Just like, go for it. Okay, another dot there. There we go. This, I feel, is really helping me to get a better sense of where my space is, instead of trying to really go in and like freehand this, because if I tried to freehand this, we'd be having a rough time. And I mean, hopefully I can kind of like smooth these out, but that's not bad. That's way better than I was thinking that it would be. So now what I want to do is go in and do some lines here. So that's a line, and I can save. Some of these are going to need to have like black around them. Should I have done this in black? Maybe, I don't know, but this is going to work. Okay, so while I'm doing this, so I work in tech. That's part of why I chose Brian for this, because I just love learning more about the people who have created or even contributed to the types of technology that we use all the time in our everyday lives and don't even think about it. Like, I just, like online banking, for example, you kind of just take it for granted that now you can just access all that stuff online, and it used to be the case that you couldn't do that. So all right, see what I mean when I said like rounded edges? That is not happening in a day. We are doing a cube, and it's going to be cute. I was trying to make a pun out of cube and cute, and that did not work. Okay, not bad. She's a cube. Okay, so the side panel and the top are going to need to be filled in with white. So let's do that next. Yeah, and so for me in my journey with tech, I'm someone who I will say when I started college, I started as a majoring in biomedical engineering and pre-med, and then proceeded to fail calculus, and told myself that meant that obviously I could never have a career in technology, which I now know to be wrong. But the thing is, when you're 18, 19 years old and you're trying to figure out the world, you're trying to figure out your life, when something like that happens, it just becomes the biggest thing in the world and the most devastating thing. And the thing is, at that time, I didn't have the necessary life experience and perspective to be able to understand that a setback, like, how would I put this? That not doing the best at something doesn't mean it's the end of the world if you don't want it to be. Sometimes it just means you have to find a different way, a different path into something, and that's absolutely what I did. And I'm it took me going through a lot of trials and tribulations throughout my career, and dealing with a lot of imposter syndrome, but discovering that my background in teaching is actually something that is an asset when it comes to being in a more technical field, because we need people who are good at explaining things, and it makes me happy to do this kind of work. So yeah, so okay, this is a little bit patchy. She's getting there. What I might do is go over this just one more time. Okay, there we go. That's it. Ooh, okay, let's patch that up. See, y'all, this is what I mean when I say I don't know when to stop. Okay, stop. Okay, less is more. Ooh, all right. this looks pretty good so far. Next, we need to give this panel over here more of a darker background. Now, that to me looks, it looks in the illustration like it's like a dark gray, like a really, really dark gray, but I'm just gonna go with black. The one that I use is Bee's Knees Lacquer Void. So let's go with this. By the way, I was not expecting this to kind of turn into like a, hey, this is also a get to know Olivia better thing, but I'm realizing that there are a lot of parallels between these scientists that and other people in STEM that I've chosen, and I think it's fascinating that to really learn about people who have made such great contributions to fields that that I work in and that relate to the work that I do today. Okay, so let's fill this in. And okay, and for here I'm gonna be okay with covering up a little bit of that white at the bottom, because that was really just an initial guide for me. It's dry by now, so I'm not too worried about it being like streaking or anything like that. Okay, y'all, this looks like a cube. What? I'm doing the thing. Okay. What I also want to do is to, okay, let me talk y'all through what I still need to do from this point forward. I know that I still need to do a black outline around the outer border here. That's one thing. And then after that, I need to put the little, like, the $sign and the green underline over there. I feel that probably what's going to be the best way for me to do those things, at least for sure, the lettering in here, I need to put top coat on this first, let that completely dry, and then go back over that with the lettering. I think I could probably go ahead right now though and do those the additional outlines. Let me just get some more black here. Yeah, I always love to tell people how my love of technology and like my dream to have a career in technology started all the way back when I was a kid, and using like going onto AOL, America Online, every night after school, and building web pages and all that fun stuff. Okay, so I'm just gonna go around the top here, just very carefully, not overdoing it. Let's go around the top. Yeah, let's try that one again. Nail art is so relaxing, to me at least. Like, it's helps me just slow down, because I'm always doing something, but with nail art, I think it forces me to be even more present than usual with something, and to just enjoy the process, regardless of how it turns out. Okay, so I'm not covering anything in the middle, but I do need to go all around the outside here. Okay. And then the bottom part. Yeah, so it looks like my strategy of starting with dots to define the the corners of this cube, that worked really well. So I highly recommend that. Oh, this is a little thicker than I wanted it to be. Even it out. Okay. And now I just need to like clean this up a bit more. Like that. Okay. Almost done. Yeah, the toughest part about nail art can be the weighting, because I want to go in right away and like put top coat on this, but I know if I did that, it would smear. So I need to, first of all, let this sit and wait. I'm probably gonna give this about a good 10 minutes just to be extra thorough, then put on top coat, let that sit another few minutes, and then I'll come back and we'll finish up with our lettering. Okay, so I've given it a good amount of time to dry. Now we just have to go back in with the final details for the $ and the underscore. So another tip for those of you newer to nail art, if it's been the case that like, you know, I technically still do have some polish out here, but this is basically dry. If I were to try to dip into this and paint with that, it would be very stringy, very gloopy. So at a certain point, you like if it's sat for a while, you want to just make a new fresh little pool of polish for yourself to pull from. Okay, now with this $, I'm noticing that it, like the vertical line doesn't go through the S. It's in the style where it just like sits on the top and the bottom. So let's see, and I do have a little bit of like black streaks here, but for me, this is not bad. Okay, just gonna start by drawing the letter S. Here we go. Right. Come on. There we go. All right, that's not bad. And just gonna go in for the top, bloop, and the bottom. Okay, that's good enough for me. And then the last thing, I just need a little green line. I'm using, ooh, I am zoomed in, Crack Polishes Ooze. And yeah, this, I'm about halfway, yeah, this definitely has a fill line. This, by the way, looks gorgeous with a blue shimmer topper over it. That was one of the polish combinations I recently wore on my vacation, and I got so many compliments on it. Okay, so this should probably be like the easiest part of this entire video. I'm literally just needing to draw like a single line. So here we go. Take a deep breath. And let me actually move that out the way so we can see better. All right. And there it is. Just gonna reinforce that a little bit more. Technically, some of this is kind of existing outside of the cube, but that is fine with me. Okay, Bash. That looks recognizable as Bash. I'm very happy with this. So once again, I encourage you to read about Courtney, read about Brian, and let's go on to our next person. Next is Solomon Harper. He was an electrical engineer who invented the first electrically heated hair roller, along with 28 other inventions. His first patent was for his block system, which he invented to help prevent train collisions. I was just fascinated when I read about Solomon, because to think that someone could invent something on the in the realm of hair products, but then also have the skill to apply their knowledge and techniques and just their experimentation that he had to something in a completely different industry, like train collisions. So that just absolutely fascinated me. For this one, I want to start by giving you sharing a nail art technique that I often use for times when I am wanting to do a more simple type of illustration, like the hair roller that I've got here, but to give it a little bit more pizzazz. And so here, what I've prepared out is a background that I'm gonna put this on. And I've created this background by layering 3 different polishes together. And you can see here, like this is absolutely something I would wear as a full manicure. To get this, I started with cracked polish, crinkled linens. Then on top of that, used a really dainty silver glitter topper. This is cracked with sugar on top. And then on top of that, I used a shimmer topper from Fancy Gloss Aqua Goddess. And so once again, to zoom in and show you how those 3 pieces have combined together, I highly recommend this as a strategy that you can use to give a little bit more like dimension and sparkle to nail art. Okay. So for this hair roller, as I was looking at different images, like illustrations that I wanted to reference, a lot of them were in different colors, like yellow, blue, and so on. But I don't know about anyone else, but I grew up in a time where I constantly, my mom was putting pink hair rollers in my hair. This is back when, I'll tell you all about my hair journey as I'm illustrating this out. But the 2 colors I'm going to use are going to be this like baby pink cream from Blank Beauty. It's always hilarious when I show this one because it was a mystery polish that they sent me with one of my orders, but I'm actually surprised just how much use I've been getting out of this for it being a mystery polish. And then also bringing back this one, Zoya Frankie, a cream that's like a nice pink coral. And I'm also going to need to use some black for this, I'm realizing as well. So Bee's Knees Lacquer Void. I'll have that one over on the side for later. So looking at this illustration, once again, I'm going to have to do some geometry, draw a cylinder in this case. And I think that I'm going to start with this, with the lighter pink first. So let's start with that. I think this might be one of the times where just for the purpose of being able to get drawn out the overall shape of this cylinder, I'm probably gonna use this baby pink for parts of this that are going to later on be covered up. But let's see how this goes. Also, my hands are a little bit shaky right now, so bear with me on that. Okay, so just like we did with the cube, I'm wanting to start by probably sketching out my overall parameters here, knowing that these like the spikes of the hair roller need to be able to stick out on both sides. Now, I don't know if they're technically called spikes, but I will say when I've had them in my hair, they feel like spikes, so I'm gonna call them the spikes. I think this is going to be my right side over here. Yeah, this pink does stand out really well against the background there. All right. So yeah, when I was a kid, I, from a very young age, the most common hairstyle for young Black girls in my family and in my area where I grew up was to get your hair relaxed. And I never forget the one time where like the hairdresser like left it on a little bit too long. She got distracted and started doing something else, and meanwhile my hair is just like just aching. And then so it's like you get your hair relaxed, but then in order to maintain those curls over time, you'd have to go back and, or no, sorry, not you wouldn't have to go back, but like when you were at home, you would like touch up your hair in the curls by putting on the rollers at night. And I can actually use a larger brush for this section, so let me do that. Needing to go and like roll them up. So I have so many memories of my mom sitting with my hair and doing that. And then, you wake up the next morning and poof, you have curls. Then for a while, I switched over to, I think once I was like in high school and definitely all throughout college and grad school, I had my hair in braids. And that would be where I would, go to a hair braiding salon and sit there for like, oh goodness, like 11, 12 hours getting the hair braided. And for me, I did that because it was a way that it was a hairstyle that helped my hair to last for a longer time. And I did that, I think, up until like 2013 when my mom passed away. I just, sometimes when people go through like some kind of trauma or life change, you just kind of like decide to change up your hair, and that's, I think, what I did. And so that was when I took the braids out for the last time and decided to switch over to just wearing my natural hair and to explore what that would be like. Okay, so I think this looks good so far. Let's see, I could probably from this point go over this part and a little bit over there with the darker color to give some dimension. Okay, so yeah, so I did that, and it was just like after so many years of like wearing my hair in braids, I wasn't quite sure how to it was a journey learning how to take care of my hair when it was just my hair, not braids, not with any like chemical relaxer or anything in it. And just really starting to understand and come to love my natural hair texture for what it is. And so that has just been it's been a wonderful journey, and I love my hair. I also let me see when it was like fast forward to a couple of years ago. I don't actually remember what the catalyst was for me to oh yeah, I do remember. I was playing this video game, Kim Kardashian Hollywood, where you get to play a character and like go on all these fashion journeys and stuff and build your wardrobe and try on different hairstyles and hair colors. And at one point I had unlocked this hair color that is actually very similar to what I have in my hair, which is like this berry magenta base red, and it looked really good on my little avatar. And I was just like, I never thought of, oops, I went outside the lines, but that's okay. I never thought of wearing my hair in a different color like that, but it worked for the character. So I'm just like, well, maybe I could do that myself. And I'm someone who loves watching Brad Mondo's videos on like hair fails, and I knew that to get my hair the color that I wanted it to be, I would have to it would need to be bleached and then dyed, and I'm not trying to bleach my own hair, so found a hairstylist who specializes in hair color, and I've been going to him ever since. And I do just love okay, pause on the story. I think that let's see, I'm probably going to want to what do I want to do? Okay, I'm going to go ahead and do the black outlines right now. Okay, this is looking good so far. It's looking like a hair roller. So I think back over all these years of my hair journey, and like I knew for a long time that like I've always heard of like Madam C.J. Walker being like one of the first Black entrepreneurs, and all the things that she did in the world of hairdressing and hair care, but I'd never heard of Solomon Harper before. And oh, this is getting so low, I might just like straight up pour this out. I never knew that it was a Black man who invented the first electrically heated hair roller. That's just very fascinating to me. That was a little bit more than I was planning to put out, but we're gonna work with it. It's okay. And so, yeah, with where I am now with my hair journey, it's like I love how my hair is such a big visible part of my identity, and it's something where I for a while I tended to like wear my hair always pulled back, especially in a workplace setting, because I mean, I've had times where, like, in a workplace setting, people would. Well, one time, I was like standing in the kitchen in the break room at an office, and I just like making my morning cup of tea, and suddenly I feel like a hand on my hair from behind me, and it's a coworker, and I'm just like, what are you doing? And she's like, oh, I just wanted to see how it felt. And I was just like, this was at that point I had only been working like for maybe a couple years, so I didn't have all of the like life experience or work experience that I have now, like to fully shut that down. But then a few years after that, there was a time where I was traveling for a client, doing an on-site training for them, did a fantastic presentation, and then at the end asked them, the group, do you all have any questions? Like, it's implied, about the material. And this one woman raises her hand and says, I know I shouldn't ask you this, but I just have to know, can I touch your hair? And I was just like, no, that's not okay. So, the stories I could tell. All right, this is looking pretty good. Now we just need to, I think, do I want to put top coat over this? Yes, I think I'm going to put some top coat over this. Let it sit. We'll come back and then I'll pick up from there. Okay, this seems to be pretty dry, and I'm still very happy with how this turned out so far. So let's go ahead and just finish this up with adding these the little spiky lines there. So looking in the illustration, I can see that there's like enough space in the middle for there to be like those 3 dashed lines, but you know what, let me start on the right side first, because what I can see there is that the black lines that are going out are starting from within that darker pink space. Let's see how this goes. And okay, I think I need to put down some more black first, actually. So this is, let me just pause and do that real quick. Okay, yeah, it's always hard to tell when my bottle of black nail polish is getting low, because like you can't exactly see into it for a fill line or anything. But if it's at this point where I'm having to like tip it over and like just pour out of it, that's definitely a sign that I need to go and get I always have like at least a couple of backups of black nail polish on standby, because I use it so often. Okay, this is looking good. But yeah, hair, it is something that I will say during my time that I spent as a middle school teacher of young black girls, it's just like, it was always so heartbreaking. And when I would see some of the girls just like make fun of the others when they thought that their hair wasn't as cute or up to their standards. And believe me, I called that out and put a stop to it, because it's like, that's not okay. But it was just, being a teacher made me just think, wow, was it like this when I was a kid? And you just see it through a different lens. And that is one of the things that I'm glad I was able to do, to what extent I could with my kids, to help them to see how to like really love and embrace their inner and outer beauty. I'm hesitating here because for one thing, my arms and hands are starting to be a little shaky, and I'm trying to draw a straight line, so that's a bit of a struggle. Whenever it gets like this, what I do to kind of work against the shakiness, I bring my elbows all the way into my body, and that helps to steady things a bit. So, okay, there we go. This is working better. Oh goodness, middle school girls can be vicious, very, very vicious. And over the things that I'm just like, why are you girls fighting over, this? Like, why are you fighting at all? But it just that age group is going through so many different, changes in such a short amount of time that it can be hard for them to try to just see what the bigger picture is. And okay, almost done with this hair roller. Okay, look at that. Okay, also from this view it kind of looks like a bug. I almost want to put like a little face on that and be like, look at this, a little bug, but no, we're just gonna finish this up. I think that instead of trying to do 3 dashes in the middle, I'm just gonna do 1, because I feel like anything more than that would be a little tricky to try to make sure I don't like smear. I think this is looking good. Okay. Yeah, so I really appreciated learning a little bit more about like Solomon and his contribution to hair history. I think that hair care is something that for the longest time I personally I don't want to say took for granted, but I just had as like not a major part of my life. But now with having hair that is dyed bright red, it is something that I have to be a lot more intentional about figuring out what the best products are for me. And then also with my curls, having to also figure out like what the best products are for me with that. And my hair, I can truly say, is in the best healthy shape that it has ever been in my entire life. And it's just funny because I was away from home for traveling for a couple weeks, and before I left, I told my husband, like, hey, if you ever when you start to miss me, just look for a random hairball around the house, because I'm sure I left many. And sure enough, he did. So y'all, this looks like a hair roller. Oh my goodness. So yeah, this is in honor of Solomon Harper with his electric hair roller. This looks so cool. So I'm gonna wait for this to sit, put on some top coat, and move on to our next one. Next is Roland Jefferson. He was a botanist who played a key role in preserving Washington, D.C.'s cherry trees. He was also the first African-American botanist to be employed by the United States National Arboretum. And for this, I've decided to illustrate some cherry blossoms on a tree branch. To begin with, this is another example of a way that, similar to our previous nail art on the previous swatch, how you can really like add a lot of dimension. And like, if you're like me and can't do a nail polish gradient at all, using something like a shimmer topper can be an excellent way to get you that kind of color shiftiness in a different way. So for this, I started with a very light blue cream polish. On top of that, I put a very dainty silver glitter topper. I think it's the same one that I used before, cracked with sugar on top. And then on top of all of that, that is where I put on Fancy Gloss's Let It Glow Red Pink. Because for this, I thought, okay, what if I want it to look like there's stars in the sky? So like the blue background is to give like sky, right? The silver glitter topper is to give a little bit of like, oh, and there's stars in the sky, and the red, pink shimmer topper is like sunset. I don't technically know if you can have all of those three things existing at once in real life, but it's my vision here, so we're just gonna roll with it. Okay. The first thing I think I'm gonna need to do is to put out my tree branch. And I thought about just using a regular like brown cream polish for this, but I wanted to experiment with using like a different brown polish that has a little bit more shimmer and color variety in it. This is from Cracked Any Hoosers. And see, I was just talking about how I leave hairballs everywhere. Why is there a hairball on the bottom of this nail bottle? I did not realize that was there until just now. Oh my goodness. I like I said, I was not kidding. Hairballs everywhere. Okay. So, any Hoosers, see, there we go. Good transition. I think I'm gonna use a larger brush. I need to clean this off real quick first. What I'm gonna wanna do is put out the tree branch and just give it its initial shape. And here I'm seeing that I'm going to want to kind of like come in from the side. I like that this kind of design is one that you can use as you are, if you're using this same design across multiple nails, it really can give you that appearance of like a tree. Okay, let's stretch that out. Okay, that's kind of big. So now I think I'm going to switch back over to a smaller one here to be able to get that. So with the smaller brush, I'm going to like add in, like fill in this gap here, and then just work to start making some branches. Kind of trying to taper them off as I go. Okay. Yeah, so I think I've, so story time for this one. I think I've mentioned before on this channel that I'm from Washington, D.C. It's my hometown. It's where I grew up. And the cherry blossoms, the cherry trees are just such an iconic part of D.C. And, regardless of where you grow up, I think we all have like certain parts of that town or parts of wherever you grew up that when you think about your hometown, you have certain memories of like smells, of sights and sounds. And for me, the cherry blossoms are absolutely part of that for DC. So I love being able to learn about someone who did so much work to preserve those trees and make it so that they are part of the ongoing legacy of what makes that city what it is. Okay. And once again, I know I struggle with figuring out when to stop, so I am going to stop. I think I've got enough branches. Okay. And yeah, I think with Any Hoosers, that does do a good job of standing out against that background there, while still being recognized as like the color of a branch. Okay, next, it looks like I'm gonna want to put down some, let's go with white. Yeah, so the white that I've been using from Cracked, Crinkled Linens, no hairball on the bottom of this one so far. Okay, and let's put this out here. And this is where I'm gonna switch over to using my dotting tool. If you're newer to nail art and have never used a dotting tool before, and you decide to buy one, chances are the tool that you get will most likely come with like multiple sizes of like dots. So let's see, this side for mine is the larger option, and this side is the smaller one. And I think I'm going to start with the larger size. That tends to be a good idea for times like this, especially when you are wanting to like have additional like layers of dots on top of something like flowers, especially. It's really good for this. So, and also because I'm using white as part of the flowers here, the blossoms, that's why I didn't want to do this against like a stark white background, so that we've got a little bit of color contrast. So it looks like I'm gonna want to put like maybe 4 of these together on here on each branch. Yeah, so growing up in DC was fun. DC, Maryland, around that area. It's, you know, you watch the news growing up as a kid, and then it's like, oh yeah, our local news is national news. But you know, my husband and I go back there to visit my family at least once a year, and it's always great to go back and just see what's changed, see what's has stayed the same, visit family, catch up, and I love that city. It's always hard though from a political side to go back and just, you know, think about what's going on in the government and how that is just it's awful. But you know, one of my let me pause for a moment here and I'll resume telling that story. I think I want to put, yeah, that's as many as I need right there for now. Yeah, okay. So I'm gonna clean this side off real quick. And then, okay, I'm gonna switch over to using, going back to my baby pink cream from Blank Beauty, a mystery polish that I got. You know, I'm getting so much good use out of this polish. And yeah, I'll also say that, like, if you're someone who's been struggling to find ways to use the nail polishes that you currently have, especially cream polishes, nail art is a fantastic way to get some good use out of that. Like, for example, gray is a color that I don't often wear just like on its own, but it can be excellent to have to use for nail art. Okay, so now I want to just like put some light pink dots around here. Okay, so continuing on with story time. I love that my mom, you know, growing up, as I was growing up, she always encouraged me to be politically active and to have opinions and speak my mind. And one of the memories I'll never forget is around the time of when the Bush-Gore election was happening. And I think we were like sitting at home one night and like it might have been a Saturday night or something, and we heard that there was going to be a protest downtown at the Supreme Court. And my mom turned to me and she was like, "You want to go?" I'm like, "Yeah, cool, let's go." And so we just like got in the car, went downtown to the Supreme Court and joined the crowds out there. And just never forget us like standing there chanting, "Gore got more, Gore got more." And you know, my mom just always set such a great example for me with that kind of thing. Okay, we are in the home stretch here. This is actually turning out to be one of the like relatively simpler ones to do. And I think that, yeah, especially if you're newer to nail art, figuring out relatively easier things that you can do with a dotting tool can take you a very long way. Okay, last thing, going back to this one from Zoya Frankie. And I'm also intentionally reusing a lot of the same colors over and over in this video to help you all see that like how visually interesting it can be if you, let's say you have a smaller set of polishes to choose from, but if you are intentional about reusing the same colors over and over within a manicure for nail art, it can actually help to tie everything together and give you a great finished look. So for this, I'm using the smaller size of my dotting tool. Okay, so let's go ahead and do that. And so yeah, it was, you know, I wasn't, when I was planning this video, I was not intending to have one of the Black scientists that I chose be someone who has such a direct connection to my hometown, but I love how that's how this turned out. I love that year after year, so many people flock to DC from all over the world to see our cherry trees, and that's the DC that I love. That is, I say that, like, regardless of who is in power in the White House and how much they say that their America is the right version of America, I like that city belongs to all of us. This country belongs to all of us, and I like that. Doing this nail art reminded me of my hometown, which reminded me of my mom, which reminded me of all the great values that she has instilled in me. So yeah, here we go. Some nail art to celebrate Roland Jefferson. I really love how this turned out. Once again, I'm gonna let this sit for a little bit, put some top coat on, and let's go and do our fifth and final one for this video. The final person I'm going to spotlight for this video is Mary Mahoney. She was the first African American to study and work as a professionally trained nurse in the United States. She also worked to improve access to educational and nursing practices and to raise standards of living for African American registered nurses. As I was researching for this video, I never really thought about like who might be the first African American nurse, or who might be the first African American doctor, or the first African American in any other field. There's just so many fields where I had to pause and realize, unfortunately, things in the past just were not quite as equal or equitable as they are today, unfortunately. So to honor Mary, I'm choosing to illustrate hopefully I'm pronouncing this correctly, a simplified caduceus, the nursing symbol. So there's a lot of different illustrations out there that I saw for this. A lot of them are very complicated, and especially when you're trying to draw it on a very small nail surface. So I'm hoping that this one can end up giving the overall impression that I'm looking for. Now, this kind of background, from a distance, it just looks very dark, almost black. But if I zoom in, it still looks almost black, but it's, I promise, it's a very dark green. And what I've done here is that I've started with a dark green cream polish. This is Cracked Polishes Black Jade. On top of that, I put a gold reflective glitter topper. This is from Starly Golden Starlight. And then because, when you put like a reflective glitter topper over a polish, it you see the glitter, but in this case, I wanted to see glitter, but not so much because I wanted the nail art to stand out over top of that. So the last thing that I did was on top of the gold reflective glitter topper, I put a dark green jelly, Emily DeMolly's Sheer Tint Forest, to kind of like seal it up a bit and give it this nice kind of squishy surface. So hopefully when I show this to you all in some different lighting, you'll be able to see it more clearly. But my vision here was to have like a dark, like sparkly background, but that didn't stand out so much that it would overtake the nail art. And as far as the color that I'm choosing for the line art, I've got Zoya's Honey, which is this really nice yellow that this is a good example of one that I don't think that this yellow works the best against my skin tone, but I think it's excellent for use in nail art, which is why I keep it around. So let me dip some of that out there. I know the first thing that I want to put down on the nail is going to be the circle at the top. I thought about drawing that freehand, but y'all know that that can be a struggle for me, so I'm using my dotting tool. I think I'm going to go with the larger end for this. So Just taking a look at the overall surface that I've got to work with here, I'm probably going to want to put this further up on the nail just to make sure I'm giving myself enough space to work with. So, all right. There we go. Okay, that's good. So far, so good. And next for this one, let's see. Okay, so what I'm seeing as I'm looking at the line art is that it's, you've got these overlapping, like, twisting lines that go down the center staff, but there's also gaps that have been left in there. So, you know what, let me start with the parts that I know I can piece together. And because I know there's so much complexity involved in this one, I don't think that this one's gonna have as much, if any, story time compared to the others, but we'll see what I end up talking about. Okay, so I need to draw a line going straight down. Okay, not bad. And I think I will probably do the wings next. Okay, so I see that this is going to need to like swoop out and down. Okay, let's go up. Oop, the brush did not want to go in that direction. Let's try that again, like that. Okay, and then down like that. Looks like a little mountain. Okay, got that. And then it gives kind of like, it sort of like doesn't fully close up in there, but it's just like, see, I'm gonna modify this a bit and look like that. Okay, I think that's okay for starters. Okay, and let's do the exact same thing on the other side. So I wanted to have this part going up be a little bit more curved. I think that's good. Yeah, whenever I had to do something this complex, I'm always talking myself through it the entire way. It's kind of like when I'm at work and I need to like share my screen on a Zoom call or something. I swear I cannot share my screen without talking my way through it out loud. One of these days I'll be able to do it, but y'all, today is not that day. Okay, that's pretty good. Okay, next, I think I need to bring the center line down a little bit further. And so, you know how I was saying it's hard for me to draw curved lines. Well, yeah, this is gonna test me right here. So I want to start kind of around the middle here. It looks like there's the one line that, like the curving line that starts from the left side is the one that is unbroken going down. So let me start with that one first. So I'm going to start here, and by unbroken I mean like I'm obviously going to have to like pick my brush up multiple times to do this, but it should end up looking like one like continuous line. Okay, and maybe I'll keep it like there. Oh, I should have brought it in a little bit more to like, because you know as it goes down it like tapers in a bit. Okay, I'm just gonna try it down there. Okay, there we go. Yeah, that's better because I wanted to make sure that it gave at least the illusion of it tapering in. So I'm gonna go back and touch up a little bit of this here, but not so much because I am planning to try to go over top of this with a different gold polish. So we'll see how that goes. Okay. So then I also need to bring down the staff here. Okay, then a little bit more of the staff right there. And now on the other side, it looks like the other part starts from the same height and then sort of goes in and like meets it there without touching. Yes. how is this actually turning out so good, so well? Okay. On the other side, we've got this little bit of curve. And by curve, apparently I just drew a super spiky corner. It's all right. We're making it work. And then that just is going to come out on the other side. I did it. What? How does that look so good? Oh my goodness. I did that. Okay. So now what I want to do to really try to make this pop out even more, I have this gold polish from Cracked called Bit of Boubalay, and it is one that, like, because of the texture of this polish, it's one that I didn't want to like use as I was initially like sketching out these lines, because I wasn't quite sure if it would have the right consistency to be able to consistently show up as like unbroken lines. But now that I have that foundation there with the Zoya polish honey, I think that what I can do is now go back over those lines that I've drawn with like a bit of this as an accent, and to really bring out some additional sparkle on the top of this nail art. So let's go back in. And I'm going to start at the top and just see how this goes. If I were to like fill this in with that, how does that look? Yeah, I think this is accomplishing what I want to do, which is to like just color in what I've got, and I can still see the honey color in the background, but what this is doing is just making it stand out in a sparklier way. Okay, so at this point I just need to go in and color in a bit. Okay, so Mary Mahoney, nursing. Yeah, you know, I will say, going back to my first story of this video about like my ongoing struggle, not ongoing struggle, but like my history of blood clots, and I guess I can call it like an ongoing struggle in some ways, because you know, whenever I have like some unexplained chest pain or some unexplained leg pain, even though I'm still on blood thinners, I, you know, you always kind of feel like, is this just like a regular leg cramp, or is it another blood clot? Fortunately, I haven't really had to deal with that in quite a few years now, because the dosage that I'm on is one that helps to really prevent any reoccurrence of blood clots, but not give me a whole lot of the awful symptoms that I had before, like constantly feeling faint and you know, prone to dizziness. I get that for other reasons now that are not from the blood thinners, but you know, in all these years of going to endless doctor's appointments and checkups, I think that I really do appreciate all of the nurses who have been part of that journey with me, and who have helped to make me feel more at ease and less afraid at times when that's how I was feeling, you know, because when you're having to constantly go to the doctor and find out what's going on with you, and to just keep going back time after time, I feel like it's the nursing staff who are, in most cases, some of the people that you'll interact with, sometimes even more than your doctor. And so like even now when I go see my primary care doctor, I see his same nurse the same time. We always go and talk about like I ask how her daughter's doing, because I know she told me that her daughter recently graduated from college and she's so proud of her, and you know, and it's like I just really commend nurses for the work that they do. I know they're often the unsung heroes of the medical industry. And so for me, learning about people like Mary Mahoney, being such a trailblazer in her field and working to make it a field that's more, so that more African Americans can also follow in her footsteps. I'm really glad that I've been able to recognize her in this way. And this worked. Oh, I love this. So basically, what I'm saying here is that I think that if you're trying to do something like this in nail art, and you want that kind of like really nice sparkle that we're getting from a bit of Buboulé, start with a matching cream color first, because I think that the consistency of cream polishes is going to really lay down and stick a lot better and give you that just established line art on your nail. And then go back over with something like a bit of Buboulé that gives you that additional shimmer. And this turned out so well. So I'm gonna put some top coat on this and then show you all how these all look in some different lighting, and let's get wrapped up.
So yeah, this video was a lot of fun for me to do. For a number of different reasons. One being that I'm glad that I decided to take this route towards planning and filming this video to really get out of my comfort zone and to take the time to learn about 5 amazing people who I never even heard of before this. I know that, we're always so busy with so many things and work and our personal lives and other things, but I really appreciated taking the time to pause, be intentional about choose, I guess I'll say, of the time that I allocate towards my everyday life for learning. I'm glad that I took part of that time this month towards learning about these 5 people and the significant contributions that they have made to science, technology, engineering, mathematics, and everything in between. I'll also say that I'm proud of myself for how my nail art techniques have improved. By no means am I like a wizard at this stuff yet, but like the more you practice, the more comfortable you feel with doing it, and the more comfortable you feel, the more you do it, the easier it becomes. So for any of you who are like me and that nail art is a part of this hobby that doesn't necessarily come as naturally to you, I really do want to encourage you to keep doing it. Keep finding ways to do it that are meaningful to you. So for example, like I'm someone who I'm trying to think of an example of like a part of nail art that I haven't been drawn to. I don't know. I think I haven't been as drawn to just like general patterns as part of nail art, for example, but I do like having some kind of image that I'm trying to represent through nail art. So like that's just one example of something that works for me. So like if you're trying to get more into nail art, maybe try to figure out what kinds of imagery would be most meaningful to you and start from there. So once again, happy Black History Month. I know this month is about halfway over by this point, but I encourage all of you to continue finding ways to celebrate it, to speak about it, and I would love to hear how that's been going for y'all in the comments here. I've got a bunch of other great videos coming up for the rest of this month and beyond. Not Black History Month, but other things as well. So be on the lookout for those. As always, thank you all so much for being here, and I look forward to seeing you in the next video. Bye.